Sometimes the truth seems too fantastic to be true. In the early 1800s, scouts and trappers started coming back from the mountains of northwestern Wyoming with tales of a land called Yellowstone, a land unlike any they'd ever seen before. A place so fantastic that people who heard the stories were convinced they were fiction. Frontiersman Jim Bridger told of finding a canyon there so deep that a man could shout "good night" into it and be awakened by his echo at dawn. People just accused him of spinning tall tales. A group of prospectors wrote a book about what they'd seen beyond the canyon. Their New York publisher rejected it as fiction. But more and more explorers kept coming back with similar tales. So Ferdinand V. Hayden, head of the U.S. Geological Survey of the territories, assembled the first federally funded survey team to explore the area and set out to see this strange land for himself. In 1871, Hayden led a 32-man team into this valley. They included a zoologist, a botanist, a mineralogist, and a group of map makers. But the two who would have the biggest impact on the American public were photographer William Henry Jackson and painter Thomas Moran. Hayden and his men knew that Yellowstone was home to volcanic hotspots, but what they didn't know was that they were actually standing in a giant collapsed crater of a supervolcano, and one that had erupted with catastrophic force 640,000 years ago, when 250 cubic miles of heated magma and other material exploded into the air, creating an ash cloud that's been traced from Canada to Mexico to Louisiana. Based on past events, scientists say Yellowstone is overdue for another major eruption, but warn that it's impossible to predict when exactly that will happen. In the meantime, its strange volcanic landscape draws huge crowds to Yellowstone today. In 1871, Hayden and his party had never seen anything like it and were eager to see more. On July 28th, they reached the shores of Yellowstone Lake, America's largest high-elevation lake, and set up their base camp. By then, they were already suspecting that everything they'd heard about this place was actually true. From here, they set out to explore Yellowstone and document its every feature in maps, photographs, paintings, and statistics, starting with Yellowstone Lake itself. They were careful to avoid the fate of Truman Everett, an explorer who spent 37 days lost in Yellowstone in 1870 without a horse or supplies. When a search party finally found Everett stumbling through the wilderness here on the banks of Heart Lake, he was delirious and near death. He weighed just 90 pounds and was so dirty his rescuers mistook him for a wounded bear. Hayden's men fared better as they traced the course of the Yellowstone River through the canyon Jim Bridger had described. They found it to be just about as big as he had promised. Now known as the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone, it winds through a plateau created by lava from the volcano's Big Bang. Modern scientists know the extreme heat of the blast weakened the lava, making it easier for glaciers and water to cut through the colorful stone that gives this region its name.